Hello, welcome back to the Crafty Organizer. I'm Noreen Burke, where I love bringing you ideas on how to get organized, declutter, and I also love bringing you episodes on doing DIYs, upcycles, anything crafty. Today I want to talk to you about the most common mistakes we all make when we're trying to organize a space. Let's get started. I am coming up on 10 years of organizing, which absolutely blows my mind. But the number one thing that I find people do when they want to get organized that they absolutely should not do is go to the store and buy containers first. What this does, unfortunately, is you come home with these containers and you're super excited, and then you look at the container and think, what am I going to put inside here? And that is the absolute opposite direction of what you should be doing, because now you're putting things inside of this, and once it's full, you have an excess of supplies and you're putting them into something else. So what you need to do first is get all of your things together in categories and then decide what type of container you will need that will hold the complete contents of your category. So shop at the end, not at the beginning. The second thing I see people do, since we're talking about categorizing, is they break things down too much. There's something in the categorizing system called macro and micro organizing. Now, the macro is the high level. It's like going to a grocery store and finding the aisle of canned goods. That's a broad, high level of a category. Now, as you know, in a canned food aisle, it breaks down based on fruits and vegetables. And underneath those two separated categories are the specifics of each one. So for canned vegetables, you'll have corn, peas, beans. You get the idea. Your categories in whatever room you're organizing works the same way. Now, if you walked into the grocery store, could you even imagine how big it would be if every aisle had just one category in it? You would not go to the creamed corn aisle and then the white corn aisle and then the yellow corn aisle, and then don't even get me on the subcategories of like hominy and things. They have them in a broad category and then they have them subdivided. Your organizing system should be the same way. So here's some files I set up as an example. Pretend these files are a room. You would go into the craft room, and in your craft room you would have a bookcase. On that bookcase, you can have the high level of your supplies. So if you have adhesives, inside of the adhesives, you would be able to look inside of a box, for example, and see your tapes, see your glues, see your washi tapes. Let's break it down to a different category though. On that same bookcase, you could have another box or container with your beads. Whether you have glass beads, plastic beads, inside of each of those, you could have them broken down by color. But the high level of all of your beads should still be in one place. Let's look at ribbons as another example. Now, I know a lot of you have large collections of ribbons, but you should still have the ribbons in one place. If you have seasonal ribbons that you don't use often, you can go ahead and rotate the seasons with a different box, but you would still have your fabric ribbons and your wire ribbons and your curling ribbons that you use for gift wrapping subcategorized, but that high level of category would still just be ribbon, and then you can funnel it down. But you do not want to have each one of those separated into a different category, which is in a different container, and then spread around. So before you start putting every single one of your items into a separate container, let's see if we can get them all together first, get that high level of a category together, and then see if you need to break it down, but still have it contained in one space so that you're not micro-organizing. The third thing I see people do, which ties into what I just talked about with micro-organizing, is when you do find that you have a lot of multiples of one particular category, following the advice I just gave of keeping things together, if you find that you have quadruplicates, octuplets of something, go ahead and keep just what you need in one place. Do not try and cram all 8 bottles of your Mod Podge, for example, in one box, especially if you have a lot of other glues. What you can do in this instance, instead of keeping all of your duplicates in one place, keep the 1 or 2 where you need it, and then write a note in your adhesives box, for example, that you have extra Mod Podge in an overflow cabinet somewhere. You can also do this if you have excess duplicates of ribbon or of excess papers. Whatever it is you are using as a supply, if you do have a lot of extras, don't take up that valuable real estate in one space, but definitely leave yourself a note of where your extras are so you can always find them when you need them. Oh, number 4 is a big one, you guys, and this is one that I see people struggle with the most, and that is be mindful of what you bring into your house. I think this is one of the biggest things I see, and as a society, we use shopping as a distraction for things that are upsetting us. Whether we have a pain, an emotional trauma, we're troubled with work, we use retail therapy way too often. And if you find that you are bringing things in bags and just setting it down somewhere, then this is definitely a tip that I want you to listen to. When you are at that store and you are looking at that item thinking, oh, I'm going to buy it, what I want you to do before you get to the register is honestly ask yourself if it's a need or just something that would be fun to have. Identify where you are going to put this item, and also make sure that you are not duplicating something that you already have that's similar to it. I honestly can't tell you how many times I've gone into a home and an owner has a propensity for enjoying a black clothing item, and they don't realize until I start putting things in the like with like order that they have a dozen of these black V-neck short sleeve shirts. They see them in the store, they're drawn to it because they like it. They don't do that checklist with themselves of, do I already have one? And they don't have that one in, one out rule of, okay, where am I putting this? And am I replacing one that I already have? So ask yourself those honest questions, and if you still want it, need it, and know where it's going to go, enjoy it. Number 5 is a generic one, but I think it's so important in a home. When you walk in, do you have a landing place for your wallet, your keys, your phone, your paperwork from that day? If you don't, then this is what I call a command center, and I find it to be such a valuable thing. In my home, we used to have a dining room table, and as soon as everyone walked in, that was the landing place for mail, backpacks, purses, empty lunch boxes, and then we would go to have dinner, and there was a mound of things on our dining room table. So I had to make locations for the backpacks to go, a home for my purse keys to always land, and a home for our mail. Now, in our home, because it's smaller, these are different locations. But in your home, if you walk through a garage, for example, to get inside the house, having maybe a bookcase or a small table that becomes the landing place for all of those things will keep clutter at bay, because those things always have a specific space. And then when you need any one of them, you know where to look to get it. And by the way, if you want, there are a ton of ideas online of really fun, inventive ways to create these command centers. So if you look on Pinterest, I'm sure you'll find inspiration in one of them. Number 6, not having a paper system in place. Now, I know so many people have gone to paperless systems, which I think is wonderful, but that still means that there's an influx of digital papers that are coming in. So if you haven't taken the time to set up your digital files for these, check out a video I've already done on file structures. But if you haven't done this in your home for your actual physical papers, it's better to start right now and add papers as you get to them than to wait to collect all the papers and try and catch up. I promise, even starting small so that you have a place for those papers to go as you come across them will save you so much anguish, and it'll also make it easier because now as you're coming across those papers when you're decluttering, it's not an overwhelming feeling of what do I do with this? because you've set up a system already. Number 7 is an optional one, but I truly think that it's such a helpful tip, especially if you're living in a home with multiple people, and that is labeling things. If you have baskets on a shelf in a pantry, for example, labeling them snacks, grains, crackers, breakfast items makes it easier when someone is looking for an item. But most importantly, the thing that I find most helpful with labels is it reminds people where to put it away. And isn't that the biggest part of clutter, is things not landing in their home? So make sure you label things so that people not only know where to get it when they need it, but most importantly, where to put it away when they're done with it, which leads me into number 8. Not having a set home for things. So often when I come into a home to help them organize, I'll open up a cabinet, for example, and there is a multitude of things in one cabinet. Let's just take a kitchen, for example. I've been in kitchens before where, because there wasn't a system in place, there's food, towels, medicines, paperwork, maybe even some toys and dishes, all intermixed into one place. Because when they've got an item in their hand and they're done with it, they look for the open space for it to land as opposed to where it should live. How many times do we buy new plates because we can't find our old ones? Probably not very often, because plates are one of those things that we instinctively create a home for. But we don't carry that mindset through when it comes to our supplies or the things that we enjoy doing. So by giving a designated home, as soon as you go to buy something, you're already aware that that cabinet is already full or you don't have space on that shelf. So you can see where this all starts to tie in together. If you have a home for something, when you go to buy it, you know that that space is already allocated, or even better, you know you do have space to add into that item. So have a home for everything. Number 9 is comparing our homes and our organizing systems to other people. I can't think of anything that makes me feel worse than going through the internet and looking at homes that are beautiful and organized, because then I end up feeling like, what's wrong with me? The truth is, there is nothing wrong with me and there's nothing wrong with you. We need to stop comparing ourselves to these other homes. No one else is living under your roof and no one else is knowing what you are feeling on a given day. So as long as what you have is working for you, then that's all that matters. I always say in videos, you need to find systems that work for you. And if what I'm suggesting works, I am so excited to have gotten to help you. But if what I'm saying doesn't click, there are so many systems out there. Take what starts to resonate with you and tweak it until it works just for you. Take whatever things resonate with you, tweak them until they work for you and your household, and don't worry about what anybody else's house looks like unless it's giving you inspiration. The last one that I'm going to talk about is honestly the biggest thing that I see in my clients when I go meet with them. And that is, they got totally excited. They got revved up. Maybe they watched a video of another organizer or me, and so they dive into the project. And all of a sudden, they realize that the room has exploded. They are overwhelmed. They are hungry. They are sore from being hunched over, and they just walk away. It became so overwhelming that now the room has gotten even worse because they had torn it apart to organize it. And now they open the door, throw things in, shut the door, and they don't even know how to begin that room again. This is what I call biting off more than you can chew. If you've ever watched my videos before, you know I'm always recommending setting a timer. And I say setting a timer because it allows you to focus on something for just a short amount of time and then take a break. You can then assess if what you're doing is the right path, or if you still have energy to continue, or if you need to go take a break for a little while, get some food, and revisit it again. But setting a timer and consistently going back at that interval of time allows you to bite away at a project, as opposed to just going in and thinking you can get it done all at once. When I go in for a client and I think that I'm going to get a project done in 2 or 3 days, I don't have the emotional attachments to the things, so it's easier. I already have a plan from doing similar jobs, so it's easier. And I usually come in with a crew, so it's easier. When I do my own spaces, like when I did my garage last year, you guys, I spent 5 days doing my garage. And I would take breaks and leave and wonder how on earth I do this professionally when I can't organize my own garage. So it's very different doing it professionally for someone else versus doing it on your own. So be kind to yourself, be patient, allow plenty of time. It might take you a couple of days, a couple of weeks, or maybe even a couple of months. But please don't think that you're going to be able to tackle a big project in one day by yourself. It's going to take time, but I promise doing it in little intervals with a plan, you will get through any space that you have. Now, if your project just feels too overwhelming and you honestly don't know where to start, send me an email. I will be looking at several emails of projects and seeing if I can give any feedback. I won't be able to answer all of them, but if I have suggestions, I'll email them to you. But I'll also contact a few of you to see if you'd be interested in doing a virtual organizing job that will be featured in the next couple months of videos. And I get to do these videos thanks to my patron supporters, so a huge thank you to them. Thank you so much for watching today. Please leave me a comment below if you struggled and have overcome by using any of the techniques I've given. I love hearing about those success stories, and I love seeing how it encourages and motivates other viewers as well. Thanks so much, and I will see you guys in just a few days. Bye.